Everybody, welcome back to The Beard and the Bald. I am Paul Shirey, the Beard, joined by my bestest buddy, Christopher Bumbray.
The Bald. Hello.
The Bald. The Bald.
I'm still bald.
I'm still bearded. I'm like gray bearded right now because I haven't dyed it or anything. I'm
know,
all natural.
Do you dye your beard, really?
I do.
Because it's funny because I have a little bit of gray in my beard, and I actually sometimes dye my beard.
I do sometimes. I don't always do it.
Yeah,
like
me
right
too.
now, it's just like I do it if I'm gonna be on camera and stuff. Like usually that's why I'll do it.
I
and
do
it's not because I'm
sometimes.
trying to look young. It's just that my hair's dark. I don't have like gray like in my beard and my hair, so it just kind of gives you an overall like normal look. I guess you could say like a more uniform look.
Yeah.
So that's when I'll do it. But otherwise, I don't give a fuck. But
I
camera.
did it a little while ago. And I mean, it doesn't last long for me because my beard grows out really fast. But I wasn't crazy about it, to be honest. I prefer it with the gray kind of, and the girlfriend likes it with the gray and some.
Yeah, a lot of the I was gonna say a lot of the ladies like it.
Yeah.
The gray too. So I don't know.
So I don't really do it anymore. I mean,
I call it my Tupac Skywalker whenever I do it because, like, at the end of Last Jedi, when Luke Skywalker comes out, he goes from like, gray bearded fucking Santa Claus Jedi to fucking, svelte, fucking nice, color in the beard and everything. And so, anyways, that's my code word. That's my code word for my beard color. My secret's out. So yeah, cool.
Nice. Good bearding. I'm actually tired today because I got up. I've been doing this thing now. I wake up first thing in the morning and get my workouts out of the way in the mornings. That's what my girlfriend's been doing lately. And so I kind of do the same thing. We go to different gyms though for that. And I go downtown and I do like this thing called Wake Up Fit, which is like a half hour of HIIT, HIIT.
Yeah.
I do that, a couple times a week. And yeah, so I'm a bit tired right now, but it was good. You should have gotten me on like 2 hours ago when I was all wound up. I was all hyped up from having done it, but now I've been sitting around for the last couple hours eating cereal. So,
what kind of cereal are you eating?
I eat Mueslix.
Oh my god, it's the most boring Canadian.
I know. I love Mueslix.
God damn it, Bumbray. All right, let's talk some news. I know we got limited time to capture Christopher. He's got to get to work.
I do. Most people don't realize that a lot of bloggers, a lot of critics actually have other jobs.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
I thought you guys were paid by the studio.
I know. Seriously, don't realize that we do this out of love.
Yeah, it is true. Like there's
money, but not a lot of money.
We're gonna talk more about We're gonna talk more about about bloggers and
yes.
I hate the term bloggers for one. I'm not a fucking blogger.
No, neither am I, but like a fan press kind of.
It's kind of like it's just kind of a stupid fucking term that people like to use, and I don't fight it. It's just like whatever. I'm not a fucking blogger. That's not like in my job title.
No, anyway. We don't have a blog.
It's so stupid. It's like
JoBlo doesn't have a blog.
Like, hey, are you a blogger?
No, it's a news site. We don't have a blog. You have a blog, but you never really update it.
Website. I don't have it anymore. I let it lapse, so I didn't re-up it.
Paul, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Are you here?
What happened to you?
What do you mean?
I lost you for a second.
Oh, I'm here. It's okay.
Yeah.
Back to my warm embrace.
You had a blog at one point, didn't you?
I had a website. Well, yeah, I had a blog spot years ago. Actually, that's still up somewhere in the internet sphere. Mm-hmm. But I actually had a website too, but then I let it lapse. I didn't renew it. So it was the way of the Shirey. I may bring it back someday.
Yeah, well, you got a little busy.
When I move on. Yeah, that was the one thing. It's kind of like I'm working at JoBlo. Why update this other website? I don't have fucking time for that. I know we got no time for that. So yeah, but yeah, we'll talk some more about bloggers and soon.
So a couple Fox trailers dropped this week.
Yeah, some one of them that I was very excited for everybody to see, which is James Mangold's Ford v Ferrari with Christian Bale and Matt Damon, based on the Le Mans 1966 race, where basically the Ford Motor Company wanted to compete with Ferrari. And it's kind of the creation of the Ford GT, which is the model that is still in existence today, and I'm not quite sure how it's utilized. It's a fucking bad. It's actually my favorite sports car, which you can purchase if you have lots of money. I don't, so I don't have one. I have a toy one. I have a Hot Wheels one.
It's funny because Matt Damon, he plays Shelby, and one of my favorite cars is the Shelby Mustang, right, from Bullet, the one that's
and one of my favorites is the Shelby Cobra Classic.
Mm-hmm.
I think is a far superior vehicle. But yeah, it looks. This looks like just a fucking awesome movie.
Yeah, it does.
Like it's got the drama, it's got the biopic shit going on, it's got race cars, it's got a great cast. I feel like this might be the antidote to kind of the sameness of the box office, you know, just like the big sprawling epics. You know, summer is nice and all, and you know, we enjoy the explosive effects and all that other bullshit. But I almost wish, no, I don't almost, I do wish that Ford v Ferrari was opening like this week.
It was supposed to. It was supposed to come out this summer, but they pushed it to the fall
because they're trying to capitalize on awards season, which just sucks because
but you know, the thing is, the problem is that the kind of counter programming doesn't always really work though. And I think what they're doing is actually really smart because they'll be able to take it to different film festivals, and same thing with Ad Astra, I imagine, you know, which is the other trailer we're going to talk about. You know, if these are movies that are good, but they're slightly, you know, they could be commercial, why not, you know, take them to the fest and build some word of mouth before going in, you know, and get some really good tight reviews out, and people will be like, oh, this is a good movie, this is really good, we should go see it. You know, I mean, a lot of good movies come out in the summertime and they just don't perform that the way they should. You know, I mean, Booksmart is a good example. Like that movie should have absolutely been held for fourth quarter,
or should have been out in quarter one.
Yes, exactly.
Plenty of space in there for Booksmart to fly.
Yes.
Why the fuck you would? I mean, really, I haven't seen Booksmart. I've heard great things about it, and I look forward to watching it.
Yeah, it's great.
But like, what is the reasoning to open that when they did is just a fucking terrible idea.
And on 3,000 screens, I mean, they set it up to fail. It has no stars in it, you know, and it's just, I mean, it's a great movie, and the reviews have been really good. But like you said, it should have come out. They should have done like a limited release, gotten some really good word of mouth going.
Yep, and the trailers.
New York and LA are the places for that movie too. You know, let fucking press come out really in support of it. Get some viral videos out there.
I mean, I put out my interview with Caitlin Deaver and Beanie Feldstein the week of that it came out, so that, you know, kind of give it a little boost. But I don't think it did much of anything, you know, obviously. And I think like the trailers and the TV spots, what they should have done is just really grabbed onto those positive reviews and pushed the shit out of it. Like I would have like had those reviews popping up all over the previews and TV spots and whatnot.
They should have done.
And I saw some of that, but I didn't see enough of it. You know,
they should have handled it the way that A24 handled Lady Bird. Really, it's just dumb. The counter programming just doesn't always work. You know, even, you know, I mean, it's doing well, but Rocket Man. I feel like if Rocket Man had come out closer to Christmas, it would be huge. It would be even bigger than it is now. I mean, that one, you know, it just opened and it opened pretty well. And I'm sure that it's going to go on to make really good numbers and do pretty good business. But I feel like if that had been out in the fall, it might have done like maybe not Bohemian Rhapsody type business, because that was kind of captured the family audience, and Rocket Man won't really do that. But it could have easily done like Star is Born type business, you know?
Sure. Yeah. That actually brings up something that I hadn't actually put on the agenda, but I think I'm going to include in this podcast.
Oh, you're going rogue?
What's that?
You're going rogue.
Yeah, going rogue. Well, I interviewed Matthew Vaughn last week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I saw your interview.
So
that's cool. Yeah.
So I talked to him, and we talked about Rocket Man, which I watched on my phone. They had sent me a screener link.
You watched it on phone? Really? I was wondering how you saw it. In Alaska. That's not a movie I'd want to watch on my phone though.
I mean, it was not ideal, but it's like, you know, you have to watch it.
It is pretty cool. They sent you a screener though.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, it was like 2 days before it even opened in theaters.
Was it like his personal screener? Did it say like M Vaughn on it?
No, it's had my name all across the fucking screen the whole time. So that's always fun.
Yeah.
But anyways, I watched it and I liked it. It was really good.
Yeah.
I didn't. I gotta say, I still prefer Bohemian Rhapsody, and I know that's is kind of sacrilegious to some, but I really loved Bohemian Rhapsody.
I mean, they're different movies, though. That's the
They
thing.
are. They're so different. Like
Yeah, people are
Rocket Man.
comparing them, and it's not really a fair comparison to make because Rocket Man is a musical and it embraces the fantasy, whereas Bohemian Rhapsody is more your traditional biopic.
It's a straight biopic, and Rocket Man
Yeah.
is like a musical fantasy. So yeah, they're two very, very different, but they're very entertaining.
Yeah.
I think people will prefer one over the other in terms of just personal preference, in terms of what
Yeah.
they like.
I mean, I
Uh,
preferred Rocket Man by far,
sure,
but I still appreciate. I'm not a Bohemian Rhapsody hater either. Like I do appreciate the movie. I was mixed on it when I reviewed it, and I am still mixed on it today. But I did enjoy it when I was watching it. There are things about it that are good. I mean, you can't go and say it sucks. Like a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it sucks, it sucks, it sucks," and that's bandwagoning, right? Like which
sucks.
we'll talk about it afterwards. Yeah, and it doesn't. I mean, it's
Come on.
clearly, considering the production problems that went on behind the scenes in that movie and how many people had their hands in it, I think it turned out miraculously well.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, Dexter Fletcher went and cut his teeth on Bohemian Bo Rap just before he jumped onto Rocket Man. So.
And you could tell because Rocket Man, you could tell that's a confident guy and that's a guy that's tried out a lot of stuff and knows exactly what he's doing.
And I think one thing with with Rocket Man 2, it's like you do get the warts and all thing, but this is the interesting, like that was one of the common complaints with Bohemian Rhapsody is there wasn't enough like warts and all stuff. But having seen both now, I really don't think it matters. To be honest, like there's a whole big, gay sex scene in Rocket Man, which was fine. I talked to Matthew Vaughn about that and, about filming that scene. But when I look back on it, I'm like, it wouldn't have made any fucking difference in Bohemian Rhapsody, what I felt about it. Like I didn't need to have that or see that specifically. It doesn't offend me or anything. Like I don't care. Like it's, whatever. It's two people having sex. But it was like, a lot. That was one of the complaints was that there wasn't enough of this. There wasn't enough of fucking Freddie Mercury pounding cocaine down his nose or something in order to make the story real or some shit. And I was like, well, and then they showed it in Rocket Man, and I was like, okay, like a rock star doing drugs and having sex. Wow, I'm so shocked. So anyways, in comparison of those kind of, or not comparison, but rather to address those complaints, like having seen the two, it didn't bother me. I was like, whatever. It worked in Rocket Man, and I felt that that was what Elton John wanted, and then and Bryan Singer told Matthew Vaughn, which Matthew Vaughn told me in the interview that he didn't want to make the gay version of Bohemian Rhapsody. So. There you have it.
Interesting.
But anyways, one thing that I did want to share, which I'll just go into here so that I can just, plug and play. I talked to Matthew Vaughn about the future of Kingsman because I am a big Kingsman fan.
Yeah, me too. I had problems with the last one, but I really liked the first one. And I'm actually pretty excited to see the next one.
So I had a few problems with Golden Circle as well, but I still love it. I just love those movies. I love the characters and everything. And we talked about that Vaughn has just wrapped The Great Game, Kingsman: The Great Game, which is a prequel. And he said he was very exhausted. And then I asked him about the future of, the characters, where they're going to go. Asked him about Kingsman 3, which he expects to shoot this fall. So here is Matthew Vaughn on the future of Kingsman. So just to change gears real quick, you just wrapped the Kingsman prequel. And
I did indeed. I'm exhausted.
And now you're just doing a press tour, no problem.
Yeah.
So you've wrapped that, and you said you intend to start shooting Kingsman 3 either later this year or early next year. And we just read recently that Kingsman 3 would kind of close out the Eggsy and Harry story.
Yeah, it would, not necessarily close it, but finish off this chapter of it. I think the end of Kingsman: Golden Circle, Eggsy's gone off and married a princess, and his life has definitely changed. And Harry Hart is part of the Kingsman has been blown to shit. So this is where it all needs to come back to something.
Would you say it's like the closing? So it's like the closing of a chapter, but not necessarily closing out any future Kingsman movies.
Yeah, it's the never say never. It's just I think their relationship has to be resolved, and which this will do, and then we have some fun ideas for the ending, which opens up other avenues. But it's I mean I don't want to. I've got to get the prequel out and this, and then maybe by then the world's sick of Kingsman, and I've done my job but hopefully not. I mean, I think we're laying the tracks for some quite interesting developments. Let's put it that way.
So there it is. That's Matthew Vaughn talking about Kingsman 3. So that is coming. I'm more surprised that we're getting a Kingsman 3. To be honest with you, it's kind of a gift because these aren't like box office behemoths, but I think that Vaughn is able to kind of make them on the cheap.
Yeah.
And still make them look great because he's just kind of got that style, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it just works out. So fuck, I'll take it, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the great game, and I hope that, I hope the third one gets made. I mean, it sounds like it probably will. I hope it does.
I mean, he seems very confident. Like as if
it's a great game.
Happened,
seems like a risk, though, like a big risk.
It is, and it's as he said in the interview. He's like, people, if they're sick of Kingsman, by the time Great Game comes out, that could be telling, if like they're just like Kingsman out. But who knows? I mean, shit. We'll see what happens.
I mean, people may love it though, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it could be fucking amazing, which I hope it is.
I hope so.
I love the movie, and really, I love Matthew Vaughn's work. I'm a fan. I love his films.
I'm kind of psyched to see Rafe Fiennes too as like a Kingsman kicking ass.
And I mean, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I didn't care for in 2014 Godzilla. I thought he was a terrible lead, but I think that given the right material where he can like kind of play and have fun, he's pretty engaging.
Well, he was very good in Outlaw King.
Yeah, and he was great in Nocturnal Animals. So I mean, the guy can act with the right material for sure. So, and I think Kingsman might be a good fit for him, where he can kind of cut loose a little bit. I feel like Matthew Vaughn is kind of a more, I don't know, I want to say refined Guy Ritchie in a way.
Yeah,
so that's kind of the vibe I get with him, and I love Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie's more raw and kind of street level, whereas Vaughn is like he's from the same neighborhood, but he's just got a different style.
Well, I mean, the thing about Matthew Vaughn that's kind of interesting too is that he's great at discovering stars, right? I mean, he kind of Daniel Craig only ever started getting talked about as James Bond after Layer Cake.
Yeah.
And he also discovered and made Taron Egerton too. Who's gone on a great career, and he kind of reinvented Colin Firth's career a bit. Nobody would have ever expected Colin Firth in an action movie before Kingsman came out. So
arguably in one of the best action scenes ever made.
Yeah, and he had a career, a kind of a career rebirth, and it was great for him. And I'm curious to see what they do with a great game.
Yeah, for sure. And Kingsman 3. Because that will be the wrap up of Harry and Eggsy's story. So, all right. So one other thing that we kind of detoured there, we wanted to discuss real quick, was the Ad Astra trailer, which kind of came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And we've been waiting for it. I mean, the movie was in production for like forever ago. And
it was supposed to come out 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and what's funny is I kept checking. I think everybody that works in this business has to update a database, has been watching that and just been like, they're still holding this date, huh? They're not flinching. So that was pretty funny that like nothing has happened with that. So it's kind of what the hell? But there it is. The trailer dropped, and I gotta say, I think it looks great.
Yeah, me too.
I think it looks really good. And here, like, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I'm a Brad Pitt fan, but I rarely go see his movies because he makes a lot of like these fucking. What is this movie? Like the one he did with Angelina Jolie. What is it?
Bad.
By the
Beyond the
Sea.
Beyond the Sea. By the Sea.
What the fuck? I don't ever need to see that movie.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible.
It looks terrible. It looks awful. And and I don't mean to like, insult Brad or anything, but there's just he just makes a lot of kind of oddball movies, and they're not quite oddball good like they used to be.
He's got a good year though. I mean, he's got, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I think is going to be incredible and looks like a great role for him. And then he's got, Ad Astra, which also looks really cool, and it's a good director too, James Gray. I'm just curious to see whether or not anybody's going to go see it though, because James Gray does not make commercial movies, and it looks
Exactly.
expensive. But
it's
who
weird
knows?
because I think the same thing, like with Gray, and I don't think most audiences think of it that way. Like your casual moviegoers, they don't
They
really
just
think of
they
it
have
that way.
no
But
idea who he is. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but I don't know. This looks like it has kind of like the Martian type appeal, maybe.
I don't think it's going to be like The Martian. Although it's funny, I've heard rumors that it might be one of the opening night movies at TIFF this year. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, but
Uh-oh.
I
Chris's
mean,
dick is getting hard.
well, I hope so. I mean, they did that with The Martian and with Gravity, and it worked. So it would only make sense that they would do the same thing with this one. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be like The Martian though, with James Gray directing. I feel like it's gonna be much weirder, and or not necessarily weird, but just kind of quiet and cerebral than
Yeah.
this.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the vibe I get too, but it also looks like
Marketing
the scene where they're like on the moon and he shoots the other moon rover thing, and I was like, oh, okay. So this is there's some intrigue, there's some action going on here, so who knows? Maybe Gray is doing something a little different. Maybe there's some behind the scenes studio shit where they hired Michael Bay to come in and shoot some stuff for us. So I don't know,
Could be.
but they're like, it's kind of like Tombstone. The original director of that was like shooting all wide shots.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, you're not getting any kind of coverage. Like they ended up having to fire his ass and then bring in fucking George P. Cosmatos,
or according to
the
Kurt
director of
Russell.
Rambo, to make a proper film, and it fucking rocked.
According to Kurt Russell, it was actually Kurt Russell that directed it.
Or that.
And he gave him a shot list every day and said, "This is what you're doing." I don't know. We'll see. Because Matos is a pretty good director too, so I'm thinking that it was maybe half truth. But Tombstone is a great movie though. Fucking good.
I love it.
Yeah.
I like George P. Cosmatos' son's work too.
He did Mandy. He's great.
I would love to see him, and I think Mandy is actually more commercial than some may think. It's definitely weird and out there, but
I feel like he's just gonna do his own thing for a while though. He doesn't seem like the guy. Like I interviewed him, and I feel like he's got a really kind of strong idea about the kinds of movies that he wants to do. I don't think he wants to necessarily be, a Ridley Scott or something like that. I think he just wants to do his own thing. And I have to imagine that he's somewhat financially secure too, because his dad worked for decades in big Hollywood movies. So he probably doesn't really need to necessarily go out and hustle. So let him do what he wants.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and he does some cool stuff. I didn't see, what was the one, was it Black Rainbow or some shit?
I never saw it either, but Mandy was my first time seeing a movie of his, and I thought he nailed it. I thought he was great.
Yeah. Same for me. I loved Mandy. I actually blind bought it. I think it was you. Yeah. I don't know, somebody I was just like, fuck it, man. I was gonna blind buy it, and I watched it, and I was like, this is fucking amazing. And one of the best Nicolas Cage performances of late.
Well, they wanted Nicolas Cage for the villain role, and he said no because he didn't want to play that role. He wanted to play the hero, and then they tried to get somebody else to do it, and then eventually they came back to him. And Cage would have been fine as the villain, but I loved him as the hero. I thought that was great. Yeah. And he's doing the Bruce Lee type moves at the end and snorts the space cocaine on the broken glass, then goes insane. His brain melts. It's insane. I love it, but I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic.
I mean, everything you just said, like, just put into like one sentence.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell. The thing is, you could also tell that Cage is having the time of his life doing it and loves it, and gets exactly what he's going for, and is on the same life. Like when he's drinking the booze and he's sucking himself up and he's like, I mean, he gets exactly what he's being asked to do and is super on the same wavelength. It's great.
Yeah. No, he's so good. I completely agree. Fucking Mandy is. If you haven't seen Mandy, I do highly recommend. It is a mind fuck of a movie, but it's just a stylish fucking fun ride, really, more than anything. Okay, let's get back on track here. So Ad Astra, I think it looks cool. I feel like I'm gonna go see it.
Oh, I'm gonna go see it for sure.
It would take some. Well, you're a critic. It's different for you. I get to choose.
Yeah.
I review time every now and again, but I would never call myself a critic. I'm just a fan that reviews movies every
I really hope it goes to TIFF, and I really hope I get to interview Brad Pitt, man. That'd be great. Bradley P. How you doing,
Braddy P.
Bradley P.
I dare you to call that. Braddy P. I've been editing your Dark Phoenix interviews all week. They're so you're kind of cute in your awkwardness sometimes at the beginning. It's kind of funny.
I know. Well, I'm not used to it. That's the thing, though.
I know. Well, that's the thing is I have to remind myself. It's like, well, Chris doesn't do this all the time.
No, it's kind of freaking.
But hey, seriously, you did do a good job though. I'm not smoke.
Thank you, but it kind of but it does. I mean, it's funny you say that though, because I noticed that too. Of course, right when I was doing the interviews, I was like, oh fuck, I hope Paul can edit around some of this awkwardness.
But like you said like your Sophie Turner and Jessica Chastain one came off really weird, but it didn't. I didn't notice it at all.
When I was doing it, I walked out of it and I was like, oh fuck, I hope I didn't fuck that up. But I was just nervous. You know what it is? You know what it is though? And this is, and first of all, I always find I get a little bit freaked out at the beginning of the interview when you walk in and it's just kind of your bullshitting time with them, because I don't know what to do. I don't know. Should I go to shake their hand? Should I be cool? Should I lay back? I don't want to bug them. Usually
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Well, usually they're pretty nice though and stuff like that. That's not really an issue. But my nightmare is like the Mark Wahlberg story that you told. That would be horrible.
Oh my god,
that'd be terrible.
God damn it, Marky Mark.
But the Sophie Turner thing, it's so weird because and I was talking to Laura about it, and she said that probably the reason I got so intimidated when I walked in though is because movie stars. Yeah, I've interviewed.
It's the Queen of the North.
Well, I've interviewed movie stars and stuff like that, and it's not I do get kind of flustered, but the thing is I had just binge watched the whole show with Laura and I'd never watched it before, so I spent 60 hours or so of my life watching Game of Thrones over the last 6 months, and it became a big part of my life, right? And it became a big part of my relationship, and it's this weird kind of intimacy you feel with these characters on screen. Same thing when I interviewed Bryan Cranston, and it's just I was more nervous interviewing them than I was movie stars that I grew up watching. It's this weird kind of relation. Same thing when I interviewed John Hamm actually for Bad Times at the El Royale. It's always kind of like that. You get into these characters and you get into these, and you find a hard time separating them and you see them as a real person. Sophie Turner is not at all like she is a Sansa in real life. She's got tattoos and stuff like that and she's kind of cool and laid back. And
one of her tattoos is the Stark sigil.
Yeah, which I couldn't mention in the interview though,
on her
because
arm.
I was more not to say anything about Game of Thrones
before
going.
Say anything about Game of Thrones.
I mean, I guess I can kind of get it from Fox's perspective, though. They didn't fly us all down to London in like a 1,000 pound a night hotel to have us interview her about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but you know what? That's I don't know. I take issue with that to a point because just because you flew us out there, like this is a trade-off, like we're coming out to put on our site to cover how we want to cover. You can't dictate those kind of terms. I think it's bullshit when they say, hey, you can't ask this. I'm like,
we would have gotten more views.
What questions to ask? Like,
we would have gotten more views if I had been able to ask that question that we wanted to ask her, where it was, what does it feel like wrapping up these two characters at the same time?
Which is a totally fair question. And it's not any kind of question where it's like, oh, hey, what do you think about Game of Thrones? It's more like, hey, this is a journey you're closing out. That's a legit fucking question, man. I mean, look, it's cool that we're invited out and I appreciate that. I genuinely do like that. Having that kind of, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. Having that access means business. Like that is our job, but at the same time, you have to be able to cover it the way you want to cover it. It's we're not dictated terms here.
No,
we cover it the way we cover it. And you're bringing us here because of the way we cover it, not bringing us there so that we'll cover it the way you want. That's just not the way this works. There is no journalistic integrity that way. So I do take issue and I've had it before too, where they'll say, hey, don't ask any questions about this. And I'll normally respect it for the stars, because like, okay, so they don't want to discuss this particular thing, but even then I still take issue with it. That's not, That's just a puff piece.
Otherwise, though, I mean, I was able to ask difficult questions. Like they let me ask, I didn't ask to ask this, but it wasn't like it was off the table. I got to ask Kimberg about Last Stand and stuff like that, and how. But that's a legitimate question too, because he already did a take on that version of the character, and how did you fix it? It's funny talking about Dark Phoenix, though. It comes out. It will be out by the time the podcast comes up, and it's getting torn to shreds by the critics. And I really have to say, like, I didn't think it was a great movie, but I enjoyed it. And I think that people are going crazy with the hate that is coming down the movie. Like, I really don't get it. People are reading things into the movie that I don't think are necessarily there. They're complaining about the listlessness of the actors and the actors wanting out of their contracts. You could potentially read that into Jennifer Lawrence's performance. But just like
I don't get that from the other actor. I mean, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I just don't buy that with McAvoy and Fassbender. These guys are professionals. Like
Fassbender and McAvoy throw themselves into the part, especially McAvoy. And it was like they're doing good acting. And same thing, Chastain. Like I took issue with kind of how thin that character was, but she's really going for it. She's giving a good performance, and they're doing the best they can. And I don't understand how some critics can read into it and assume that they think that, they're only doing this for money and blah, 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 blah. I'm sure that they have their own motivations for doing it, but it's just people putting that into reviews. I don't think you can really read into it like that. You don't really necessarily know that. But also I feel like people get on a bandwagon too. And they, I got into it a bit with another critic on Twitter because he was like, no, critics would never walk into something with wanting to hate something. But
right. Come on. That's just naive.
I know. And I really do.
Who the fuck said that?
It was Matt Goldberg. But it was,
okay, Matt fucking Goldberg. Yeah, all right.
But I mean, it is.
I'm sure he's never gone into a movie with fucking preconceived notions.
I'm sure he has, though, and it's just
absolutely.
And I do all the time, but I'm human. I can't really help it, And there were things that just rubbed me the wrong way for personal reasons. We got into it a bit last week on the site. Like it just is what it is. I'm human, and it's just that's kind of how it goes. But Dark Phoenix is like, I don't know. I just feel people really didn't want to like it. They had some issues about it, and I think a lot of it had to do with Singer doing the last couple of movies. And, I don't think it got a fair shot. Just like I kind of don't think that Godzilla got a fair shot. Godzilla King of the Monsters, you reviewed it for the site and you saw it on the junket. And I went to see it on Friday, kind of. I didn't think I was going to love it because I hated the last Godzilla movie, legitimately hated it, and also hate the Emmerich.
I feel like if you hated the 2014 version, how could you not love the new one?
I mean,
it's the antithesis of the 2014 film.
I had some issues with it, but overall, I mean, I had a really good time watching it. I liked the action. I liked the human characters. I really liked Kyle Chandler, who I thought was kind of going for like a Kurt Russell type vibe.
Yeah, totally.
Millie Bobby Brown, I thought was really good too, and I thought Bradley Whitford's constant one-liners were a little grating, and I was
they were trying to base him on Rick from Rick and Morty. That's who he was supposed to be, but Rick from Rick and Morty is way more like intensely R-rated.
Yeah.
And very he's dry, but he's also very funny and very I get it. Yeah,
I didn't
love all the human characters, but
I love Bradley Whitford, but I'm glad he's not back for Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm glad that Kyle Chandler's back. I'm glad Millie Bobby Brown's back, and I'm really happy that Zhang Zi is coming back too. I like what they did with her.
I feel like there's going to be a love interest thing going on there between her.
Oh, they totally built it up. They totally teased it, and great. She's a beautiful woman. He's a handsome dude. Why not? In this heightened situation, she's twins though. There's two of them, so I like that they built up having the Mothra type thing. Because Mothra always had the high priestesses. In the movies. So I kind of like that they did that.
And I love like the attention to like kind of the origins of these monsters. Like when you go into Godzilla's lair and you're like exploring like how they used to rule the earth and like all this other shit, like this whole other like, this whole other piece of the world that we're not akin to. And I think that taps back to the roots of the Toho films, and I just feel like it's a movie made with passion and love. I feel like Michael Dougherty just made this because He loved Godzilla.
Oh yeah, it's not a cynically made movie, and I really hate it when people criticize movies and call them big, dumb, and cynically made when they're not, when they're clearly not.
It's completely earnest. Yeah,
same thing about the first Pacific Rim, and you cannot call that a cynically made movie, because if you don't think that Guillermo del Toro is passionate about that movie, you're fucking insane. You could call the last Godzilla movie cynically made, maybe. But I found this one, though, you really can't. Like, you could tell that the people who did it love the characters and are having a blast. And
they love monster movies. Like, and they made, like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know that the box office is like awful. It's not like huge, like maybe they thought it was going to be. But, the reviews are just like ridiculous. Like, what are people expecting?
People have an axe to grind
out of a Godzilla movie.
People really do have an axe to grind, though. Like it's like they decided, well, we liked so many other movies that we can't really like this one. Like I'm convinced of it. I mean, people will always tell me that it's not the case and blah blah blah. But I mean, having gone to the film festivals a lot, you see that firsthand after the premiere of the movies. Everybody's very cliquish. And I really feel that, they don't necessarily do this intentionally, but, I don't know. I feel people totally go in with preconceived notions and decide going in that they're gonna hate something. I've been with critics in screenings that it looked like they were having a blast watching a movie. They were laughing and having a good time, and then they give it a horrible review. And I just don't get it. I think people get really swept up, with the pressure of, going with the flow. And I don't understand that if you're going to be a critic. I also have to say, like, I read something that Dark Phoenix, apparently there were some projection problems or whatever in LA, and they had to stop the movie. And apparently when they stopped the movie, they realized that half the critics had left. And it's, how can you review a movie like that and you haven't watched the whole thing? It doesn't.
Honestly, if you call yourself a critic and you're leaving a theater, fuck you. Like, no, you're not a critic. No, you need to be in a different line of work. Like, fuck you, man. Seriously.
It's your job. Yeah. And it's like, how can you review the whole movie without having seen the end? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, what point did they leave? How much of it did they actually watch?
Seriously. Like, and if you're like, oh, I couldn't handle it, or I knew everything I needed to see. I'm a critic.
That's bullshit.
Go fuck yourself, man. Seriously. Everybody, if you're listening, I'm sure all those critics are listening to us right now. If you left the fucking movie and didn't even watch the whole thing and you reviewed it, go fuck yourself.
Well, it's not fair, because then the thing is, some of them, their blurbs get picked up and they go viral and stuff because they have a way with words, and they're funny. Their criticisms are very blurb worthy, but then it really taints the movie, and you can't really give it a fair shake unless you've sat and watched the entire film. You can't.
Yeah. And you could watch the whole movie and still hate it and give all your little pithy shithead remarks. Go ahead. But at the same time, you're not a fucking critic if you're not watching the whole movie. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
And as much as him and I, we got into it a little bit, Matt's review of Dark Phoenix is perfectly fair, and he obviously watched the whole thing, and he had valid criticisms. So I'm not, trying.
And that's fine. And that's the thing. As long as you watch the movie, if you have valid, criticisms, and you can bring them to light, then great. That's the way it's supposed to be, But yeah, you get I totally agree. I know, and I know it. I fucking know it. I can't prove it in some scientific manner, but or in some evidence-based way where I show you some insider conversations I've had. But I know that there are plenty of critics out there that will just go into a movie ready to fucking just give a bad review, have it already set in their mind that they're going to hate this thing and that it's going to be that way. And again, at the same time, though, I kind of get it, because what people forget is, even though being a critic, you're supposed to separate yourself objectively, subjectively, you're still a human being.
Well,
and you're still going to base things emotionally, and you can't really get away from that completely. Like, that's still going to be part of it.
That's actually a good segue into the Collider Live thing. I mean, I want to make time.
I
want to make sure we have time to talk about it anyway, because I don't have that much more time, unfortunately. But
fine. Let's get into it. So go ahead. You can set it up because you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, you watched the video though, right?
I've seen it. Yep.
So anyway, on Collider Live, Kristian Harloff, one of their hosts, and he hosts their show Jedi Council. I don't really watch Collider Live, to be honest. I have a friend who works on Collider that I watch her stuff sometimes, and I know.
Dude, I run JoBlo.com. I'm not watching their videos.
I know all, I know all the Collider people though, or I know a lot of them. And
So
I really,
do I, but I'm
and
not going to support their show in that way.
well, I really like them though. I think they're great, you know, and I get
some
along.
of them are really great people, but
I have to say though, this Kristian Harloff though, I mean, coming off as like a little entitled brat on this
little
show.
entitled, yeah.
I mean, he comes on and he just says, "I'm not going to cover Galaxy's Edge because I wasn't invited," and then he gets into it and he starts complaining and complaining and complaining, and then it quickly becomes evident that his big problem is the fact that Collider sent two of their other reporters, specifically two female reporters, to cover it when he thinks that he's the one who should have gone because he hosts his show and he's got a following, and he says, "I busted my ass for 5 years being a Star Wars fan." You know what? There are a lot of people that busted their whole lives as Star Wars fans.
I think every Star Wars fan has suffered to some degree.
It's your job.
We all have.
You know, I mean, he's got a pretty cushy gig, but then it got really, and you know, the people are trying to talk to him on his show, and he keeps cutting them off, and you know, and then his producer fucking goes nuts and starts saying, "You are going to talk about this on the show, because if you don't cover Collider's coverage, then you're not doing your job." And they get into it on the air. This is live, going out live on YouTube. It's so stupid that you know, I mean, I feel like that guy shouldn't host a live show anymore. Like they should report it, because who knows what they're going to say. And he came off though so poorly. I mean, I don't think anybody came out of it that well either. I don't think the producer necessarily did either. If I were him, you know, I work in live radio, I would have cut his mic and I would have let the other people talk, and then I would have wrapped the show up and I would have ended it for the day. You know, especially if it's on YouTube, you can do whatever you want. But
well, it makes for good drama too, you know.
Sure, but everybody, but it's your brand too, though. I mean, the guy, I feel like,
absolutely.
I feel like nobody's ever going to be able to take him seriously again. I mean, I definitely wouldn't.
Well, and here's the thing: I don't know Kristian Harloff. I've never met him. I don't know him, so you know, I'm not gonna assume anything about him that I don't know. All I can go off of is what I saw on that video, and basically what it says, kind of about people in our line of work, which I think, in a way, I almost feel like we need to answer for it, because that isn't how everybody feels. You know, like JoBlo.com did not get invited to Galaxy's Edge. I'm not upset about it. I'm insanely jealous because I've seen all this stuff and I think it looks amazing.
If I ever go, I'd like to talk about it. I mean, I hope I'll get to go at some point.
Oh my God, I would totally talk about it if I went. And I may go after VidCon. I may try and go. I may try to sneak in.
I've never been to Disneyland.
Aw,
yeah.
Poor Chris. No magic in your life.
No
I love Disneyland. I do. I love it. But yeah,
if you go though, I'd want to talk about it. I'd want to know what it was like.
Sure.
I mean, of course.
Oh,
you know?
Fuck.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna try to, because
take some photos and put it online. I'm sure it'd be great.
Well, Rob at Screen Rant, he went, and I saw, and we follow each other on Instagram, and he had posted some pictures of the lightsabers, which I know you can build there, you know, because I covered it through at Star Wars Celebration, where they like revealed tons of shit about it. And like the lightsaber, like I love fucking lightsabers, dude. Like that's just the way it is. And you can really construct some genuinely fucking cool lightsabers. And I just want a goddamn lightsaber.
But you got to wonder though, what the fuck's the guy's problem though? I mean, he can go on his own, you know? I mean, that's the thing when you're a fan too.
Yeah, well, I mean,
nobody's ever saying you can't go.
So years ago, I was invited through JoBlo to go to the opening of Diagon Alley in Orlando. And I have to say, they turned all the journalists loose to go explore, but you're talking about like 50 to 100 people. Like you kind of have the park to yourself. It's fucking bliss. Yeah. And I remember like walking through Diagon Alley, and I was like, I'm gonna enjoy this every second of it, because nobody else will get this experience. Like this is truly a gift, and like I noted that. You know, not just by myself. I wasn't with family or friends or anything, but I was like, even though I'm just by myself here, like I'm just gonna enjoy like not having to deal with like I could walk into any store, any experience, just walk right in, you know. And I was like typically the only person there, or like two or three other people there. It was amazing. You don't experience that anywhere else. So I guess maybe if that's the complaint that you didn't get to go to Galaxy's Edge for that, I could see that to a degree. But that's still an entitled fucking crybaby kind of thing, because that truly is a gift. And I'm jealous of all the people that got to go. And I'm happy for them. Like, it's cool.
He also shouldn't be bitching though, because his outlet did get invited.
Yeah,
You know,
like
so
if they sent 2 people, like, what's the problem again?
and they sent very qualified people too.
Who did they send? I don't even know.
Haley Fouch.
Oh, Haley, I love Haley.
Yeah, she's done a lot of good work for them, and she's been with the site, I think, longer than he has. So, I mean, I don't see what the problem is.
Well, and they do spread people out. I've met.
Sure they do.
Like Dave Trumbore was in Japan. I had not met him before, and he was very nice. And then Steve showed up for the Godzilla portion, and
yeah, it's mostly Steve. I mean, it's like 70%. So, but still,
that's true.
But I mean, anyway, the thing to do. Look, I'll admit it. Like, I'm human. I get jealous when I see you sometimes on set visits, and I'm sure that you get jealous if you see me at something, or it is what it is.
Well, I really wanted to go to Dark Phoenix, but
yeah, and I'm sure
it was my kid's birthday. Like I was trying to avoid future therapy bills, so.
I remember back in the day, you wanted to go to Justice League, and I got to go to Justice League, and that was fine.
I wanted to go to Justice League. I gave you Tom Cruise, you son of a bitch.
I wanted to go to fucking Tokyo really badly. But
Christopher, I gave you Tom Cruise.
I know you gave me Tom.
You have a Tom Cruise selfie.
It was the best, and I talk about that story every chance that I can. But it's one of those things, you get jealous though, and it's that. But you just, I mean. We're privileged, man. We're so privileged. We're so lucky. We're so lucky. I mean, that's the thing. You have to really kind of keep that in mind. I mean, we're in such a privileged position.
Yeah. I mean, all of this stuff. Our job, with the site, is a beautiful thing. And I'll just go out on a limb here. I don't make a lot of money.
No, and I'm going to my other job now because
I work full time for the site, and I appreciate all of it. I appreciate the pay that I get and all of that. But we are not a corporate owned site.
No.
This is still a mom and pop kind of operation. And the truth is, without my VA benefits, I would not be able to work this job. That's the truth. I do this because I love it. And I'm fully qualified to find work elsewhere.
Me too.
And make a hell of a lot more money.
Well, I do. I mean, I
job. It's way more fulfilling. It's what I want to do. And, I figure over time, at some point, doors will open. They always have. I've always chased my passion throughout my entire life, be it joining the military or doing this or where I went to school or whatever. But, I enjoy it. I love this work. I love being able to do this. It fills me with joy, with passion, and it keeps the fires burning. And I think that everybody that works in this business should be extremely humble about it, and I don't think that, we have the right to bitch about that kind of stuff.
I mean,
there are things to bitch about, but that's not one of them.
I'm lucky, I've got a job. I've got a good job in Montreal that I enjoy too, and it's a fun job. And I do a couple things, on the side, to keep myself going.
You do a lot of things on the side.
I like all of the stuff that I do, though. Everything that I do is really enjoyable, So I'm very lucky. I never, no matter what I'm doing that day, I never wake up and go, oh shit, I have to go to work. I really actually enjoy everything, but. But the website, though, the JoBlo stuff is definitely the thing I'm most passionate about, and it is the thing that probably has the most significant worth to me. Even though it's definitely the job that pays me the least money, it's still the job that I like the most and the one that's really important to me. And it's just it is what it is. And and the perks are amazing. And like you said, it's a mom and pops thing, and I'm very fairly paid for what I do because I don't work that many hours a week for JoBlo. I really don't. And it's also stuff that I can often do when I'm doing my other jobs, which maybe I shouldn't be talking about on the air, but and it's fired. You're fired. Yeah, but it is just a great, it is a great privilege that we have, and just the fact, that I was able to go to, the Dark Phoenix junket in London, that's an amazing privilege, assuming everything works out, and I go to TIFF and Sundance this year or something like that. Those are huge privileges too, very, very lucky to go and do something like that. Not many people get to, and it's a real privilege. It's an honor. And the guy, he probably gets all kinds of fun stuff, with the site.
Oh yeah, come on. So access, and it's the kind of thing that, I think for those of us that do this because we're just fans of the art. Like, I love art. I love film as an art form. I love it as a form of entertainment. I love art in general. I think that film is just like this fucking beautiful medium that captures our journey as human beings. Like it really does. Like through our expression through art, no matter whether it's a horror film or an action film or a drama, it doesn't matter. It's still capturing our journey as human beings. It's just one of the highest forms of art that we have. And that's one of the reasons that I just love it, what it does for you as a person and that it grows with you over time and changes. Like it's just an amazing expression of humanity. And I think that if you can't recognize, and if you're not a fan, I feel like, you kind of lose sight of what it's all about. And then you start to become something else entirely. You're just like this privileged brat. And you're like, don't you just love movies, man? Like
with delusions of grandeur. That's the thing though. And I think that's the big problem with this guy. He thinks that he's irreplaceable and that, well, I'm so-and-so and I host the show. I
host a fucking YouTube show.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, dude, man, you're so replaceable. You're so replaceable. Nobody gives a fuck. And that's just that is what it is. What it is. Somebody else will come along, the next minute, and it's just done.
There's a smarter Star Wars fan that's more.
No doubt. There's always somebody better out there. No matter what you do, there's always someone better.
Yeah, we're all replaceable.
Oh my god, yeah, and that freaks me out. I always worry that I'm going to get replaced. I mean, it's just it is what it is, man.
Well, hey, it's the circle of life. It's the way things go.
Everybody's replaceable at everything,
Yeah. I mean, come on. But that's life. Like life is renewable. You know what I'm saying? Like we all live, we die, and there's new lives going on. Like that's just the way. It's the perfect metaphor for life. It's the same for jobs.
So what are you trying to tell me, Paul?
You're fired.
Great.
Just kidding. So yeah. Well. Let's hope that, I don't know Kristian. I hope that maybe he learned some lessons from this.
I am sure he did. I mean,
and
I'm sure it's a painful lesson, but whatever.
Well, I mean, if anything, maybe it's, just instilled some humility. And I mean, that's what one would hope. And, just be more appreciative of your job, man. Again, I don't know the dude, but I hope that something good comes from it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. So yeah, so we'll just we'll run down a couple other things here. I know you're short on time.
I got about 10 more minutes, so.
Oh, you're going to talk longer than that. So there's a talk recently that the original Jurassic Park actors may return for Jurassic World 3.
I honestly, man, I have to say I've kind of checked out of that series.
I was just going to say the same thing. The Jurassic World films have done next to nothing for me in terms of entertainment. I know that a lot of people enjoy them, but they kind of screwed up Ian Malcolm coming back. I would have rather seen him than Pratt or Bryce Dallas Howard, who I think they're both great actors. I don't love them in the Jurassic World films. But I almost feel like that's too little too late. Like, why you're going to bring Alan Grant back and Ellie Sattler back for the final Jurassic World? Like, where the fuck were they in the last two movies, Like, anyways. So that's something that's maybe happening. Yesterday, Patty Jenkins, Warner Brothers, etc., released the Wonder Woman 84 poster, which also announced that Warner Brothers would not have a Hall H presentation this year, which is kind of disappointing because they usually kill it in Hall H. Got to be honest. They are doing Scare Diego and showing off It Chapter 2, but Patty Jenkins also said that she does not expect any promotional stuff for Wonder Woman 84 until December.
It does feel though like Comic-Con though is kind of going down though in terms of that kind of movie star coverage stuff. Like it's not what it was a few years ago.
It's just so expensive to go, and there's no guarantee that your coverage or that your presence there is going to net you any additional money.
Oftentimes, I think it just kind of fucks with you a little bit, because the trailers are underwhelming and people, fanboys are hypercritical too. That's the thing. It's not like they're just going to adore everything that comes out.
Yeah.
I do love the new Wonder Woman poster, though. I have to say, it's great.
Well, so the interesting thing about the Wonder Woman poster is that it shows her in some golden armor, which some fans may link to her golden armor she's worn in the comics. Now, I've been on set, and I have to tread very lightly here because I cannot reveal what I know. But what I did tweet is absolutely accurate, is that you really have no idea what's coming. But since they revealed that, I just want to have to go out and say there's actually much more you haven't seen and that you don't know that I think makes Wonder Woman 84 it's got still quite a few surprises in there. But I always felt like they were going to kind of let that one out of the bag a little bit, which they did, just a little bit. So there's more to it. And I think it's awesome that they're showing that. I think it's a smart move. And I felt like that was going to be the move from the beginning. But it's cool.
Also wanted to talk to you briefly about the Battinson casting process.
Yeah, so Matt Reeves confirmed it on Twitter. He just put a picture of Battinson with some bat emojis on there. So
they put up a kind of interesting blow by blow though on THR that I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was really interesting to hear how that all went about, and it seems like it happened very, very fast. And even the insider said that it happened very fast.
Well, it seems like Reeves really knew what he wanted exactly.
Yeah, very specific. It said Reeves wanted very specific things, and he knew what he was looking for. So it seems like he really had Pattinson in mind, and it seems like they tried out Holt as well. But it really feels like, in many ways, that he had Pattinson in mind from the get-go.
I feel like
got the guy he wanted.
I feel like really though, besides Good Time, High Life had to have played a big part in that. I mean, and it's a strange little movie by this really artsy French director, but it's just his performance in the movie. Like, I get why you would see Batman, because he, unlike anything he's ever played before in his career, he really had to play like an upstanding, moral, protective person in that movie. And there's a child in it, and he has a daughter, and he got to play that as well. And it was and that I think is really what got him the part, because he played that so perfectly. And it's not an eccentric character. It's kind of straight down the line. He's that kind of guy in the movie, and I think that really nailed him. Like, really nailed him the part. And he was great. And I have no trepidation about him being cast in that part at all. None at all. I think he'll be great.
I don't either. I'm very excited for it, actually. And I honestly, I've just been more excited about Matt Reeves directing. I just feel like, and I think the movie that really sold me was War for Planet of the Apes. Like, that movie really blew me away. Like, movie. I mean, I just felt like the look, the style, everything, and I just felt like that was like a great indicator of somebody that could make something really spectacular. And I think a lot of it about I attribute a lot of the interest coming from the scene where they infiltrate the cave, into Caesar's cave, and I was like, man, awesome.
I unfortunately have to run, but there's one thing I wanted to talk to you about before I go. I finished Chernobyl the other night. Have you finished it yet?
I did. I finished it last night.
Oh man, what a ride.
I mean, it really is just an amazing show. The performances from
Jared Harris has to win the Emmy for that. I mean,
well, but not only Jared, but
Stellan Skarsgård, Emily Watson. Yeah,
just Stellan is really amazing. And there's like so many scenes where he balances kind of like this, authoritative jerk, and then a kind of relatable nice guy. Like, he has this great balance, and I took note on that last episode where, if you link back to the first episode where he's like, tell me how a nuclear reactor works. He didn't know shit. And then he's in the hearing and he's like explaining how it works in intricate detail.
And I mean, I think one of his best scenes too is in the first episode where Jared Harris tells him, he goes, you don't understand. You and I are both going to be dead in 5 years. And just the look on his face when he realizes, holy shit, this guy is actually smart and knows what he's talking about. So he's fucking right.
And beyond that too, is that when they're, this whole thing is tackling how, basically the Russians and Soviet era Russia were very much just, they were so concerned with being right that when they were wrong, they just lied and covered up just to be right, even though they were completely wrong. They could not admit failure at any turn. There was no humility whatsoever.
Which is a cautionary tale, but at the same time, there's some hope in it, because you see how the people that are on the ground, they're sacrificing their minds, their bodies, their health to try and make things better, to try and help, and I think no episode kind of, I mean, there's the guys that go down underwater, which is crazy, and I love the fact that two of those guys are still alive. That's fantastic. That was probably the nicest moment in the series. But but it was the episode that really got to me was, and it's kind of sad that I feel like, you watch people die and it's not a big deal, but then the dog episode, suddenly dogs are being killed, and that's like, oh my God, this is almost too much to take. But I loved the character work in that, because realistically, if something like that was to happen, those are exactly the kind of guys that you'd want to send to take care of it. I mean, these are guys that, have been to war, they've killed before, they're professionals, they know what they're doing, but they don't necessarily enjoy it, right? They don't want to cause suffering. They don't want to make anybody suffer. They're grimly doing about their job. They're grimly going about their jobs. They're getting it done. They're not fucking psychos. They're just professionals. They're guys going to do a job, and they're trying to do it as humanely as possible. So he tells him, he goes, don't make them suffer. If you make a dog suffer, I'll fucking kill you. And I love that line. And also, though, the kid that they chose to come with him is the perfect person to choose, because they chose a guy who's smart enough to know that these guys are right. This is how it has to be done. But he's compassionate. And he fucking hates doing it. I really thought that was great, the way that they portrayed that. And I thought it was almost moving that these guys have the worst fucking job, but they're trying to do it compassionately. And it was agonizing to watch.
And that really is, sadly, a fast bullet is the most compassionate thing they can do.
Oh God, by far.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah, there's so many moments. I mean, obviously the stuff that just fucking gut wrenched me was just seeing these guys' bodies just
they're becoming
decomposing,
like jello as they're still alive. Yeah.
And it honestly, like, it burdened me that they allowed them to stay alive that long. Like, why wouldn't you just kill them?
Put him out of his misery. I know.
Like, they're not going to recover. There's no chance for recovery, and they're just suffering.
Yeah,
it's the same thing for the dogs, really. But yet they leave the humans alive.
Should put the human out of his misery too. Like that guy, that fireman. He was a fireman. He was trying to help people. And it was just.
Dude, I would have been begging for death. I would be like,
too. I would have just said,
fucking kill me.
Fucking love me.
It's no way to live, but the fact that they just why?
Yeah, there's no reason for it. It's just, but that's the thing. You'll put a dog out of his misery, but you won't put a human out of their misery, and it's too bad.
Yeah, and I think that goes down to the same thing that they have is like, we have to be right. We have to do the right. We have to be, correct. Why would we wouldn't just kill our own people? They must live. They must live for as long as they can live. And it's like,
another hour of misery.
There's no life left, buddy.
Hey, unfortunately, I got to leave it on that nice high note. Maybe you want to wrap up the podcast while I'm gone, though. Go over the last couple stories and answer some of the questions.
Yeah, I will. So I'll let you go, and then I'll jump into questions.
I'll be back for a full one this weekend when we do our next follow up. I'll be back with a review, or at least something from Nicholas Refn for Too Old to Die Young.
Oh yeah, for next week. Yeah,
and I should have some info on some of the episodes. I don't know why, but they're only sending out episode 4 and 5 because that's what's screened to Cannes, which is really annoying. And even our TV critic Alex Mady only got episodes 4 and 5, which makes no sense at all.
Well, maybe it'll make sense at the end, though.
I don't know. I mean, you're starting in the middle of the show. I think it's probably because it's the most impressive episode. Like, there's the biggest action scene or something. But I just
that's possible.
I don't like to start things in the middle, but whatever.
I'm looking forward to that show, though.
Me too. I really am. Yeah. But
love me some Nicholas whining Refn.
As do I. A strange fellow, and I'll be talking to him next week. But
I love Neon Demon. Love it.
Me too.
Count me as one of the people that love that movie.
Me too. Anyway, nice talking to you, Paul. I'll talk to you a bit later.
All right, buddy. We'll see ya.
Take care, man.
All right, so Christopher has left us. You guys are just going to have to deal with me now. So there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about, which I'm going to open up real quick here. I closed my agenda when Chris left. I was so distraught over him leaving. So one other thing that I did want to bring up was Ron Howard talking about how trolling was potentially a reason for
Solo not doing so well at the box office, which Solo is a movie that I quite liked. I think it's actually, I really loved Force Awakens when it came out, and then Last Jedi kind of ruined it for me. Seeing as just kind of the way things played out, I was not satisfied. So that kind of soured Force Awakens for me, which ultimately pushed Solo up as being my new favorite of the the newer films. And I'm hoping that the new one will, I don't know, somehow pull out a win and make me love it again. Not going to hold my breath, but we'll see. But anyways, so Ron Howard was talking about that. And we, there's also the background on that, which was Phil Lord and Chris Miller basically getting fired, 70-80% through the film, and then basically bringing in Ron Howard to basically clean up the mess, for being honest. So this is what Ron said. I feel very good about the way it turned out. I love the way it played to audiences, which I witnessed and was part of. So all of that I'm able to feel good about. Sure, I wish it would have done better and lived up to the box office and so forth, so that's disappointing. Why? Maybe it's the release. Maybe it's the idea that it's sort of too nostalgic. Going back and revisiting an origin story for a beloved character may not be what the fans were looking for. It kind of seemed to me, looking at it, the opening, which was big, not as big as the others, it was probably my biggest opening personally. It was still disappointing to them. I think those are the hardcore fans. It sort of tells you how many people are tag-alongs who need to wait to see what people think and whether it's essential, if it's a zeitgeist movie or not, and whether it's just, I love Star Wars and I want to see what's next. He goes on to say, so whatever millions Solo made worldwide, those were the core fans, but it didn't hit that zeitgeist point for whatever reason. Timing, young Han Solo, pushback from the previous movie, which I kept hearing was maybe something, and some trolling, definitely some trolling, some actual aggressive. It was pretty interesting. Not so much a little bit the Twitter feed, yes, but it was especially noticeable prior to the release of the movie. Several of the algorithms, whether it was Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes, there was an inordinate push down on the want to see and on the fan voting. And when you look at it, it's like 3, 4, 5, or whatever the rating is. I forget what the rating is on Rotten Tomatoes, but pretty high, and then a series of zeros or 0.5s or 1s. So anyways, all that to say, perhaps trolling was part of Solo's downfall. I think that there was a little bit of that. I think that there was a lot of bitterness after Last Jedi. I don't know if I was bitter. I just didn't like it. I think a lot of you guys didn't like it too. But in the end, I still went and saw Solo, and I still enjoy it. I love it, actually. I actually watched it again a couple weeks ago on Netflix. It's funny, I have it on iTunes, but I still watch it on Netflix, which is so weird when that happens, but it does happen. So anyways, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, is trolling... It seems like such a broad term, though, too, Like, what are we defining as trolling? Is it just Twitter? Is it fucking YouTube videos of people making, these guys that, just sit there and talk about a movie for an hour on YouTube or whatever? Is that trolling? Maybe. I mean, I guess however you want to roll it up, it seems like a pretty broad spectrum. But I think what it comes down to was word of mouth. Early word of mouth that didn't have anything to do with the film itself, but it had to do with people just being kind of put off by Star Wars, I think. I think Solo just hit at a bad time, I think it was more of a timing issue than anything, is it was so close to Last Jedi. We didn't even have a minute to catch our breath, and for some of us to kind of reconcile what we didn't like about Last Jedi, and then you're like, oh, hey, here's another one, get ready. So... I don't know. I leave it up to you guys. I don't have a firm grasp on it. I mean, again, I love the film. I think it's great. And who knows, man? Like, box office is weird. Like this weird thing, like where we think we can predict it. We can't. It's not possible. Let's see. The other thing I was going to bring up was possibly Keanu Reeves, Mr. John Wick. Baba Yaga is going to possibly join Marvel's The Eternals. I saw, look, I've been on vacation this week, but I did see a couple of people calling for him to be Silver Surfer. I don't know that, I think you could work Silver Surfer into the Eternals, but I guess I don't know. They're going to have some work to do in terms of timing. If you're going to bring in Galactus and you're going to bring in Silver Surfer, is it going to be Origin Silver Surfer? Is it going to be Silver Surfer already established? And how does that work in the overall time frame of these cosmic characters? I don't know how the fuck they're going to do it. But, I love Keanu Reeves. I actually think he would be cool as Silver Surfer. And it would be kind of meta in a way, since Lawrence Fishburne was Silver Surfer before. So it's like yet another Matrix reunion of sorts. And so that's it. So we're going to go to listener questions now. Let's see what you guys have. Don't have Chris here to interrupt me. Just kidding. I love Chris and his bald head. Let's see. Lots of people speculating on my timeline about my comments on Wonder Woman 84. I wish I could tell you guys more, but it just don't work that way. I can't do that. I get in troubles. I mean, I signed an NDA, so, I'm already tap dancing around it by even saying anything. So I'm not trying to, ruin anything or piss anybody off, because I gave my word. That's what an NDA is. Like, I will not say anything till you say. It's cool. Let's see here. Any news about The Trench? Black Adam, Shazam 2, Aquaman 2, the Batman answer. Damn! Ayrton wants to know everything. I don't know if that's is that for the podcast question? Oh, this is just some bro just asking. Look, man. I think everything that could be said about those has been said. Most are in some form of production, whether it be or pre-production. So that's all you need to really know. What do I think of that incredible Wonder Woman poster? I think it looks awesome, and I can't wait to see more. Do I have rumors about 84? I don't have rumors about Wonder Woman 84. I have facts, and I can't share any of them. I will say this, though. For my set visit, I did a lot of sketching, because I am also an artist, and I drew a lot of the things I saw. So there's that. That should tell you something, that there was actually things worth doing that for. Let's see. Ben, one of my guys, has a question. Assuming Harrison Ford is right and he's the only person that'll play Indiana Jones, how does the franchise move forward without him? Because Disney won't leave a cash cow like Indiana Jones on the shelf. Well, of course not. And that's what I had talked about before, where it doesn't really fucking matter what Harrison Ford or Steven Spielberg say in terms of, there will never be another Indiana Jones. They don't own Indiana Jones. They don't own that property. Like, whoever the rights owners, they will decide whether or not there's going to be more Indiana Jones, whether he's recast or whatever. But I think people have conveniently forgotten there was a whole TV series of Young Indiana Jones that did not star Harrison Ford. So to think that they can't do something else with that character is rather presumptuous. They can, and they probably will, even if it's fucking after I'm dead. That, like, when you talk about, like, they'll never do it. Like, how long is never? We're talking about till the end of time? Come on now. Come on. Let's be smart here. If there's money to be made off a property that made lots of money in the past, why not resurrect it from the dead? It's a smart move. That's why, guys, that's why there's remakes. That's why these things happen. And it's not just for the money. I know it's easy to say that. Like, it's the cash cow. It's the money. They're just greedy. Like, it's not greed. It's business. But in the end, it's because the characters are interesting. They're cool. Indiana Jones is cool. Batman is cool. This is why they keep making these characters over and over again, because they're cool. James Bond is cool. That's what people like it. Give the people what they want. Shastri, what is going on with Swamp Thing? Well, it's canceled. That just broke. So, Swamp Thing can't catch a fucking break, can he? I haven't seen the show yet. I kind of want to check it out out of curiosity, but fuck, it doesn't sound like I mean, you know, they're like these shows that get like one season and then are canceled. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad shows either. And it's like, you know, checking these shows out, is it even worth it if there's not going to be more? You know, it's one of those weird things. So I don't know. I might take a look. We'll see. Sriraj, was AT&T acquiring WB a good move for the studio? I'm looking at their current film slates and some of the decisions they keep making. It feels like they are so unsure of themselves. I don't know. I think, you know, everybody's finding their footing. I think, but the truth is, like, I feel like WB really makes some really great movies. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, sometimes a studio, you know, depending on what properties they own and what kind of content they typically push, you're going to find films that you like more. And a lot of times you'll find that those films fall under a specific studio. For me, I tend to really enjoy WB's work. So I don't really have any complaints. Again, like, I fucking love Godzilla King of the Monsters. Like, I don't just like it. I fucking love it. I think it's the best kaiju movie, best American kaiju movie out there. And I think, I mean, the Toho movies are fun, but they're not as refined in terms of effects. And I get that that's the appeal too. But for me, for my taste, I like to see like these things fully realized. And I feel like King of the Monsters does that. So in the end, like, I just feel like WB makes a lot of cool movies. Not all of them are great. That's, you know, they're not all slam dunks, but I feel like they have more hits than misses. So, oh, let's see here. Rogelio Hernandez. Who do you think Idris Elba will play in Deathstroke, or in Deathstroke 2? Suicide Squad 2. Deathstroke rumor would be cool. I mean, he could play. I guess he could play Deathstroke. I mean, I'm sure you'll get some people be upset about race. I feel like Deathstroke. I think that race matters sometimes in terms of characters. Not always. I think that there's some leeway there where you can play around with it a little bit. I think that's fine. And then there's some characters it's like, well, it does matter. Sometimes it matters that they're black. It matters that they're white. It matters that they're Asian. It just depends on the character and I guess the presentation. But I don't know, man. I feel like Idris Elba under a mask is not what I want to see. Like, he's a great expressive kind of actor, and you know, I want to see his face. So I don't know. We'll see. I have no idea who these guys are going to play. And the truth is, I'm not really trying to uncover it because, you know, working this job, I'm always in danger of being spoiled for everything. So I really try not to dig too deep on every single thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm already privy to enough information that, you know, I can't get past that. So I try to avoid what I can. Like, I got to see Avengers Endgame without being spoiled. Fucking miracle. That's a miracle. Jeffrey Roberson. I assume non-release Snyder Cut questions. I called WB this week. Did you guys follow my Twitter? I called them. I didn't. Somebody hit me on Twitter. They're like, what the fuck? I actually blocked them because they later on said like, oh, well, these blue check marks give me attention. So I'm just going to keep talking. And I was like, well, not this one. Peace out. But anyways, he had chimed in saying that a threat, like I need to call whatever executive I know at WB and let them know that the WB movies will continue to flop until release the Snyder Cut happens. So I just said, yeah, I fucking called them and I told them they're so scared and now they're going to release it and they're going to give Zack Snyder $200 million to finish whatever he needs. And they're going to clear their whole 2020 slate just to release a fucking another version of Justice League, a 3-hour version of Justice League for the masses. Just what they're begging for. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Let's see. Well, let's get back to Jeffrey's question. Which movie would you prefer of these 4? Flash, Cyborg, Green Lantern, or Martian Manhunter? Green Lantern. I would like to see a proper Green Lantern Corps. I recently rewatched the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern, and it was truly atrocious. Just a bad film in every sense of the word. I know a lot of times people say, yeah, but Ryan Reynolds was good. It's like, I don't even think that's true. And I love Ryan Reynolds, but even he knows, like, there's just, you can't get past that. There's no way you could say he was good. He didn't even get a chance to really flesh out that character. And it felt like he did the best he could, but I don't even blame him. I blame like the filmmakers and everything else. Like, just did not come together in any way. And that film is dated as fuck. It is a bad fucking movie. So I think there's potential. There's real potential for a really kick-ass, cool Green Lantern movie. And I'll tell you, I really like the fact that there's like so much history involved, and then like the different rings and the different powers, like all that other stuff. Like I love like Blackest Night. I would love to see Blackest Night done. That would be fucking amazing. I don't think they could do it, but man, just imagine if they did. That would be fucking cool. I would watch a Flash movie, but I gotta be honest, like the Flash kind of bores me. I know the TV show taps into a lot of like his stuff, like, you know, the different versions of Flash and all that other stuff, but I just don't get into it. And Cyborg, look, Cyborg is boring too. Like, what's compelling about Cyborg? Like, the comics can't even keep the comics going. Like, I feel like Cyborg is a great side character, but he's not a great lead character. I don't see it. I think Martian Manhunter would be cool. I don't know that audiences are ready for Martian Manhunter. I feel like he kind of needs to be introduced first in another film. But Green Lantern is great, you know, like there's so many different Green Lantern characters. I'd love to see like, you know, there's just the team up aspect, like bringing in the different characters. I think that'd be cool. That'd be the way to go. Not just Al Jordan, but all the other ones. Pineapple on pizza, Jack Burton. No, you don't put pineapple on pizza. Why would you do that? You don't put fruit on pizza. My pizza, I like all different types, but kind of my go-to, my happy place pizza is when you just fucking kill it with pepperoni and cheese. Like extra fucking pepperoni, extra cheese, just like slay it. Slay it. That makes me happy. So that's it. Looks like that's all the questions we have this week. I do thank you guys for joining us. We will be back next week, of course, with more shenanigans on The Beard and the Bald. Make sure you check us out on our terribly kept up Instagram account. But please give us a follow if you're a fan. That would be wonderful. I promise we will get our shit together soon enough and post more there. But we're doing our best. And we do post like little fun, like personal stuff, and not too personal, but you know, like movie related personal and different shit like that. So, you know, it's fun. And we do giveaways there. So I love the giveaway stuff. It's fun. I like to give you guys stuff. It's kind of like a reward for my listeners, our listeners. And check us out on iTunes. Give us a review, a nice review. There's somebody that gave a very nasty review, and I just want them to know that I think that's very not nice. So my nephew says, not nice. But it'd be nice if you guys gave us a cool review and some stars. We're trying to, you know, build up that momentum so that we can become famous, and then we can bitch about not being invited to things like Kristian Harloff. We want to be rich and entitled. Help us get there with stars on iTunes. That's it. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for listening. We genuinely appreciate it. Anybody that listens, we hope that you're entertained. We hope you're having fun. And we will continue until it's not fun for us or you. It's kind of the baseline there. So, cheers, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.